Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Utkarsh Narang. And I heard it from LinkedIn, where you can listen to how the names are pronounced. I'm so grateful for this option. Thank you for saying yes. And how are you doing today?
I'm very well, Caroline, and I'm 8 hours in the future, and the future looks amazing.
Oh, thank you so much for telling me this. This is exactly what I need. I'm in my morning and you are in the afternoon in Australia. This is so amazing. And let me introduce you to the audience a little bit that we know who you are. Not entirely, but you will tell us afterwards. So, you are a learning consultant, executive coach, facilitator, and content creator based in Melbourne, Australia. You had a 16-year career and transitioned from being a physiotherapist, and a good one at that, to filming and editing 400 hours of content for a Columbia Business School professor. You have also scaled a startup and led sales, and now you focus on helping individuals and teams outperform themselves. Throughout your journey, you learn to make your fear your ally in living a courageous life. And I would absolutely love to know more about that. And I prepared, of course, a little question. My first question is always what inspired you or to do what you are doing now. But I prepared something special. Your career has transitioned from physiotherapy to content creation and executive coaching. How have your experiences as a physiotherapist influenced your approach to coaching and content development?
Beautiful. That's such a good question to start our conversation off. You know, I when I was a physiotherapist, in that moment, I really enjoyed being a physiotherapist and helping patients with their pain, with the challenges that they were facing through their existence. And I, in that moment, thought like this was my life's calling, and this is what I would do till about 80 years, and then one day I'll die. But life keeps changing its path, Caroline, and it's up to us to catch what life's offering towards us. So I often say that if life's throwing lemons towards you, catch those lemons, squeeze out the juice, use the zest to make some amazing dishes, and even take the seeds and plant them to get new trees. And that's what's happened to me over the years. As I reflect back on that journey now, I can say that as an executive coach, my listening skills were prepared when I was a physical therapist. When a patient used to walk into my clinic, they would share as to what they were feeling that day, that week, that month. And my ability to listen to them deeply and to understand what they're going through is something that gets reflected in my coaching journey every single day with my clients. And the other thing is just the consistency, Carolyn, because creating content, whether you're creating content for a TikTok or a LinkedIn or an Instagram or a podcast, we all know, and you are a great example of that, Carolyn, that we have to be very much consistent with the content that we create. And that's the only way that we add value to our listeners' life, and then we add value to the algorithm that then promotes our content. So I think both these lessons in some way have redefined my journey from being a physical therapist and to now a coach and a content creator.
Oh, I love what you shared. Thank you so much for your insights. This is really huge. Also, the 400 hours you recorded on content, this is what the question was referring to. And of course, I prepared another question for you. Let's see what this is. You
Mhm.
mentioned that you've learned to make fear your ally in living a courageous life. Can you share a specific moment when this mindset helped you overcome a significant challenge?
Absolutely. So, this realization of using fear as an ally came a little late in life. A few months ago, I was invited by TEDx Mornington to give a TEDx talk. And that was an opportunity as someone who has thought leadership and who loves to speak to the audience and give value. The TEDx was a big achievement for me. As I started to prepare for the TEDx, Caroline, I reached out to my very dear friends and a close group of folks who I really trust. And I told them, that on the TEDx stage, I'm going to speak about how I changed my career from physical therapy to filming and editing to sales and to today a content creator and coach. And I wanted to kind of base that on the courage that I have and courage that I had in all those moments. And one of the very dear friends in that group said, "But Utkarsh, are you sure it was courage that drove you?" or was it fear? And as they asked that question, I was like, wow, that's such a deep realization, because fear is something that comes very naturally to all of us. When we're born, then itself we have certain reflexes which kind of protect us from our environment. And as a young child, if someone were to touch a hot stove, they would immediately remove their hand because there was a fear of burning. And that's when I realized that throughout this journey, I learned to make fear my friend, which allowed me to take these bold steps. And one example that I can share, Caroline, was that in in 2013, I quit my physical therapy. I sold off my clinics and became part of an organization for the next 8 years. And I really thought that was my life's calling. But 2020, middle of the pandemic, I realized that I want to do more with my life, and this fear of dying started to overcome me. And in that moment, December 31, I clearly remember the date. On that specific day, I decided that I want to quit my job and start coaching on my own, start this journey of building my own company, which in that moment was there was a lot of fear that was driving me. But I realized that my brain is asking me all this time, but Utkarsh, if you start your own business, you will fail and you will go bankrupt and your wife would leave you and your kids would not love you anymore. And that's how the brain was making me apprehensive and making me stop from taking those next steps. But in those moments, I asked my brain one question: but brain, what if I succeed? What if I succeed and I have more time for my kids, I am more present to my wife, and I get all the riches that I can imagine, even not being in a corporate job? What would happen then? And I think this reframe, I'm going to ask our listeners to also think about, Callan, that whenever you feel fear, ask yourself, instead of failing, what if you succeed? What all can open up for you? And I think it's a great way to reframe your relationship with fear.
Oh, I love that. You ask yourself what if, and then comes the opposite of what you think. You
Yeah,
thought you were driven by courage, but
yeah,
in fact it is fear. And now when you were talking about, and you talked about this built-in mechanism of
yeah,
fear, and we often don't understand in the beginning, why is this here for, and what do we use it for? And then we feel
yeah.
resistance, we don't want it to feel, but in fact it's a friend. I heard it one day, make fear your best friend or something
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
that. Yes, I have to laugh because I forgot that, and now and now I remember, when you were talking, make it your best friend, and then you go through life. And you always know, I said last year or so, when I was asked, when I'm between two options, what
Hmm.
to decide, then I always answered with, I go where my fear is, where my biggest fear is. But
Beautiful.
then I reframed it again half a year later, and I said, I go where I get the biggest emotions, or what
Mm.
is, like, because fear is a little bit, I know what you mean with
Yeah.
the fear driven, and it gives us a totally new perspective on how to treat fear as a best friend, as something that helps you to succeed, right? Wow, I love what you said. I
Mhm.
have to re-listen to this episode again, because this question, what if, and then comes something, the unknown, what you don't expect.
Yeah.
And this is how we create, right? So let me ask you my next question. Otherwise, okay. With the passion for understanding human behavior, how do you incorporate your knowledge into building programs that resonate with diverse teams around, no, across the globe?
Yeah. So since the very beginning, I've always been intrigued that how much can we as human beings achieve in our lifetime. To me, I think it's a gift that we've all been given, this human life, this brain, the use of the thumb that our ancestral apes did not have. And we should be really grateful for the universe to allowing us this moment. And so my whole focus has been that how can, in as an individual, as a team, or as an organization, how can we come together to do our best work? How can we understand each other's emotions in a better way? How can we create that safe space for each other and come into a room by not saying that, oh, I judge the other person, but say that I come here as an open vessel, I come here to learn, I come here to grow and to do my best work. And this understanding, Caroline, is what I'm trying to build into organizations as their cultures, in terms of their teams being interacting with each other, and how do we achieve high performing teams. There are many clients that we've worked with in India, a few here in Australia. We've worked with the South African Reserve Bank, where we've built programs around growth mindset, where we've built programs around learning to understand each other, humanize leadership, through which we are then able to bring our high performance every single day at work. Because ultimately, it's the people that create the profit for the company, and it's very important for each organization to make sure that they value the people that they have, and also invest in their growth, learning, and development.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I heard about that when someone was asked, I think it was a restaurant owner in New York City, about which people is he going to hire? Yes,
Mm.
this is the word. And then there are two different sorts of people, the ones who knows already, and then the other ones that are not so skilled in that, but willing to learn.
Yeah.
And he said, like, he's taking the people that are open. You talked about openness. You go to into a meeting with an open mind and willing to learn and observe. And you talked about your listening skills as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, we have to listen first in order to understand how
Yeah.
can we bring out the best of the other people. So I totally understand, and I also love, and I have to mention it, the word culture, because
Mhm.
I had a conversation yesterday about the change when, so I studied something like human resources, it was
Mm.
called, and now it's called people and culture, and I love
Yeah.
that diversity aspect so much. So my next question is about your coaches and mentors. Do you have or who was the best coach you ever had for
Yeah,
yourself?
there are so many names that come to mind. The first person who introduced me to the coaching world was my coach. She's in the US. Her name is Julie, and she's the one who was my first coach. And my first reaction to getting on a coaching journey with her was that, what's going to talking to someone on a Zoom link do for me? And I don't believe in this concept of coaching. What's it going to do? And it was back in 2016, 17. But those 6 months with Julie really changed and transformed my life, and they sowed the seeds that someday in the future I became a coach as well. The other person that I would like to mention, and I've had many mentors, and they've all been so helpful in all the ways that they've given me. And I think that's what I learned from them. That today, if someone reaches out to me to seek support, to seek advice, to seek a space where they can be themselves, they can learn to do beautiful things, then I'm always trying to be present to them. So yeah, so many names come to mind, Carolyn. And Ankur Variku is a content creator. He is based out of India. I often tell him that in Indian mythology, there's a story, Carolyn, that there was once a student who learned to be the best archer of that time, and he never had a teacher. And so once the best teacher came and found about him, and asked him, like, who taught you? And he said, teacher, you are the one who taught me. And the teacher said, but I've never met you. How did I teach you? He said, I created an idol out of mud that looked like you, and I placed you in the forest, and I practiced in front of your eyes, and I kept practicing, and I kept practicing till I became the best archer that there was. And so I often tell this creator Ankur Variku, he's about 10 million plus followers across social media, that he's my Dronacharya, that's the name of the archer, and I'm the student, humble student, trying to learn and grasp everything that I can.
Oh, I love what you shared. Thank you so much. First of all, about your first coach, Julie, in the US. And we never forget our first coach, right? This is so amazing. And you had resistance first because it was remote. And, and nowadays it's totally normal to have those conversations because
Right.
it has the same effect. The only thing we have to do is believe in it, that it works. Or in the meantime, when we don't have the belief yet, we can borrow the other person's belief in us. And this is also what leadership is about. Then you talked about the other coach, and I love what you said, because many people are walking out there and not knowing what impact they have on other people. And it's like, I would say, just continue. You talked about consistency earlier, and you mentioned TikTok. I'm
Mhm.
also a big fan and
Mhm.
user and produce, not producer, like
Mhm.
creator. You call it creator
Correct.
on TikTok. And I love that we have the variety of all the medias nowadays
Yeah.
to get our message out. You talked about TEDx. Oh, and I wanted to ask you, how exciting was it to speak in front of the audience on a stage for you?
Wow. It just still seems like it happened yesterday. It's been a few months that it happened, but it was just a surreal experience because that red dot of the TEDx, where you go and get to stand in front of the big banner that says the TEDx name, it's just a beautiful feeling. And I share a very personal story in the TEDx, so I'd really recommend listeners, Caroline, to go and watch that. It's called "Can Fear Push Us to Be Courageous?" and I'm sure we'll have that link in the show notes. But in that story, where I show, my wife was sitting in the audience, and we read later, after a few weeks after the TEDx had happened, we were looking at our health data on the iPhone, and we often do that for each other. And we saw that on that specific date, for about 15 minutes, her heart rate spiked to about 140. And we were like, what happened? What was happening then? Where were we? Was she driving? Was she in an accident? Like, what happened then? And then we realized that it was the moment when I was giving a TEDx talk on the stage, and how her heart rate also came up, because the story is very personal to both her and to me. And hopefully that if the listeners go and hear that, it'll give them some valuable lessons on how to live a beautiful, courageous life.
Oh, thank you so much. Of course, the link will be in the show notes. Please click on that link and watch the TEDx talk. I'm excited too to watch it. Of course. Thank you for sharing. And I have another question for you. Okay, it is your 5 core values. You shared it with me with in your bio. Discipline, excellence, growth, freedom, and love are central to your work. How do these values manifest in your day-to-day interactions with clients and in your personal life?
Yeah, these are 5 values that I could not have survived this journey without. And I think finding your values is a really important task that each human being should go through. So this first value of discipline, Carolyn, I saw on your calendar invite that I have to download this software, log into that to make sure that I'm at the meeting on time for you. And so that discipline makes me think of these steps proactively, because I know the time is precious. I don't want you to be keep waiting in this room alone and thinking like, where the hell is Utkarsh? Is he late? What happened? So I don't want that to happen. So discipline is a very important value. I wake up early morning. That's a ritual that I have. I don't want others to feel that it's important to wake up at 4 a.m., but I do, and I sleep at 9:30 because that's what is important for me. And so if you can find discipline in your life, it's going to help you go a long way. Excellence is a very straightforward value, that when you do something, when you do any action for the universe, or for your coaches, for your clients, for your podcast host who's asking such beautiful questions, you better be prepared and excellent in terms of how you respond to it. Freedom is another one where I think the core reason why I started Ignited Neurons, my company, was to create that freedom for myself, that I could build anything that I want to, choose the colors, the fonts, the clients I want to work, the place where I get to live. And so freedom becomes important as well. And then growth, if you're not growing, then I have a very strong feeling, why are we even alive? Because growth is extremely important to live an inspired life. And then finally, love is something, whether I'm a father to our 2 sons who are 13 and 10, a husband to my wife, a son to my parents, or a brother to my sister, or to my friends and clients, I present myself with a lot of love and care, which is unconditional, because I want to do my best in helping humanity, in helping serve my coaches move forward. So that's kind of how I live my life, and they show up in every action and every breath in my day, Caroline.
Wow, thank you so much. Now I understand. And as well, I can encourage you, dear listeners, to think about your own core values and to write them down, work on them. Why is it important for you? And then make this your standard. That means you don't settle for less, or you don't, let be, or you don't, you are not. influenced by other people, because
Yeah.
yeah, they don't get to take your values away
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah.
This is so
Learn from them, but don't get influenced from them.
Yes, I think this is what I wanted to express. Thank you so much, of course, for helping me here. And I have one last question for you. And this is about when people reach out to you, and they will after
Mhm.
listening to this podcast episode, but also to your TEDx talk, of course. Do you have special offers or services for the Inspired Podcast community?
Absolutely. So people should reach out to me on LinkedIn, and if they come from the podcast, they can let me know. I'm happy to offer a free discovery call to help them through their challenges and see what we can do. The other thing that I recommend is that there's this journal that we have published. It's called the Ignite Life Journal. It has all the activities to help you figure out who you are, what your values are, how do you put them into practice. It's available on amazon.com, amazon.com.au, across the world. So feel free to go and get that. And LinkedIn is probably the best place for us to interact. My name, you can search it, you'll find it. And then there's this interesting word that's on my profile that's called a funambulist. And if people listen to the TEDx talk or come and meet me, I'll tell them what that word really means.
Oh, thank you so much, because I didn't dare to ask. I read this, I noticed this word, but I thought I combined it fun. I like fun, and I saw your picture, your profile
Yeah.
picture, and you are smiling. It's more than smiling, it's
Yeah.
laughing. And I love your attitude. Thank you so much. Now it's time for your last thought, please.
My last thoughts are derived from a quotation that's on my LinkedIn again, that live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever. This is a quote by Gandhi. And what it means there is that we should try and live with minimum kind of needs and experiences, because we don't need too much to be alive. I just love this t-shirt from Uniqlo. I have seven, six, seven colors of them, and I continually kind of wear them each day, a new one. But learn so much, be so hungry, and have such an insatiable need to learn that you can keep growing throughout your life, keep experimenting with your life. It's a beautiful gift that life has been given. You will have challenges, but if you keep walking the right path, keep walking a path that's driven by your values, you will get success in terms of the way you look at success for yourself.
I'm speechless now. Thank you so much for sharing. I have to re-listen to this episode. I already told you, because there were so many nuggets in it. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much again. And yeah, I see you in
It
the
was a
next.
joy. Thanks so much for those beautiful questions, Caroline. You take care.
Oh, thank you. I see you in the next episode. Bye.